for when you were young. You shone like the sun. Shine on, you crazy diamond. Now there's a look in your eyes, like black holes in the sky. Shine on, you crazy diamond. You were caught in the crossfire of childhood and stardom, blown on the steel breeze.
It's a new twist to an old song, right?
Come on, you target for far away laughter. Come on, you stranger, you legend, you martyr, and
Shine on you.
You reach for the secret too soon. You cried for the moon.
What's up, everybody?
Shine on, you crazy diamond.
I think Roger Waters originally sang the song. I'm not sure.
Threatened by shadows at night. And exposed in the light.
Good morning, everybody. Pat Hacker in the house. Joe Cool. What's up, Neil?
Shine on,
Niels Delta. Colossal Big Shot. Einstein. Chris Mike. Good morning, everybody. Listening to a little old Floyd.
you wore out your welcome with random precision. Rode on a steel breeze.
I'm pretty sure that Roger Waters, the bass player, sang the song on all the albums that we know.
You seer of visions. Come on, you painter, you piper, you prisoner, and shine.
Hey, so Mark's Conte reporting. Morning, everybody. Start off with a little shine on your crazy diamond. Shine on your crazy diamond for these crazy times. Sorry for the late start. Just like getting late start. There's no excuse, motherfucker. Just get up, man. Get up and do the show, goddammit. Get going, man. You know, it takes a while for me to prep these shows. I get up early in the morning. Because I want it to be perfect. I want it to be excellent. I want to be the best at what I do, because that's just the way I run, man. So today we're talking about a little stimulus check. You got your stimulus? Stimulus. You feel better now, right? You got your stimulus. I got a stimulus. I got stimulated. I'm stimulated, and that's going to make me forget about all the other shit, because I got paid off. I got my $1,200. Everything's fine, man. What are you talking about, Conte? The economy's fucking amazing, right? You got your $1,200. Shut your hole, man. Shut up. I know the billionaires, they got, $1 trillion, but take your $1,200 and shut up, man. So I got my $1,200, man. So fucking, I love it, man. Trump 2020. So talk about this. I'm going to keep pushing this issue of the handshake, because I think as we go back into normality, if whatever that means, if it's even still possible at times, we now have a new perception of virus. Now, it is arguable that a lot of people, as we're going to see, I'm going to talk about this Event 21. Was it a plandemic? Was it planned? And it is inescapable anyway, because you can't escape it, because it's planned and it's planted into society, the virus, and there's no escaping it. You're going to catch it whether you like it or not. Right? There's that theory too, but there's also the more logical theory and the more evidence-based theory that we're seeing is doctors are telling us that when someone, for example, sneezes on a surface and it's just an innocent sneeze, and you come along and you like a doorknob, and you touch the doorknob, right? Now it's on your hand. Doesn't mean that it's infected you yet. And then you go like this, or you go like this, or you go like this. Right? You're doing something like that, right? You're touching your face. That's how it communicates. Or someone's like, right? And then they go, hey, how you doing? And they shake your fucking hand, right? Now you're sick. Because you don't know that, right? So by minimizing if we assume that the latter is true, that's how it's being transferred, then the handshake is deadly. The handshake is a weapon. You could weaponize your handshake. You could get some shit on your hand, and maybe that's how assassins work. Who even knows? But the bottom line is, by touching people's hands, you're taking a risk. So we need alternatives to the handshake. So we'll look at the way the evolution of the handshake. This is exclusive material. Nobody else in the world, nobody else in the internet phenomena is talking about the need to replace the handshake. So you're hearing that first here. The other thing is, we'll talk about Event 21. And to be honest, I've seen the videos of Bill Gates talking about it, and I didn't think much of it because it was something that never actually happened until now. And now we're seeing Bill Gates and Melinda Gates kind of position themselves to capitalize on this pandemic, on this virus. And it is, I'll be honest, I'm going to play the videos. I'm going to learn, this video is probably a learning experience for me, because a lot of the videos I'm seeing for the first time. And again, quite honestly, I'm a little behind on the planned theory, the part of this that it was planned. And there's one clip where you actually hear Bill Gates say it in his own words. Whether a virus evolves, genetically mutates, and attacks people is one thing, but it could also have been planned. And he was saying this stuff as far back as 2017, 2018, 2019. So we'll look at that. Again, I'm not saying at this point, still not a conspiracy theory. Let's look at, it's not a conspiracy to plant influenza virus, coronavirus, throughout the world. I'm not going to say that at this point. I'd rather just look at the evidence and know that this pandemic, is destroying the economy. Is just, and what we're seeing on the ground doesn't justify the response. I think that's the takeaway. I've been to 100 hospitals so far, 5, 6. And let's just look at, I want you to look at just some of the headlines today. Look at some of the headlines. Right? I'm just surfing the headlines of Zero Hedge, right? Global coronavirus cases on the cusp of 2 million. Okay. Critics outraged as Trump prints name on stimulus check. That's something Trump would do. So 80 million people are getting their stimulus check. That's a good thing, right? It's good, right? That little shot in the arm, right? That little shot in the arm is going to carry you over the top, right? And if you're getting unemployment in addition to that, and maybe a business loan, you're doing well for yourself. You're getting handouts. The government is helping you, carrying you on its shoulders. Well, give me, you're tired, you're poor, your huddled masses yearning to be breathed free. So Uncle Sam is carrying you right now. He's got you on his back. He's got you like this in the bosom. You're taking the milk from Uncle Sam's breast right now. Oh, it feels good. Right? It feels good to be taken care of, right? But what happens when the shit runs out, man? Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Vinny DiMartini in the house. What's up, motherfucker? Wrench is in the house. What's up, Sterling Price, Jim Gerard, Cherry B, Michael, Chris, Mike. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everybody, for joining me. Mark's in the morning. Miss Chicago's here. Mary Stevens, Jerry Fleming. What's up, man? Einstein, Niles Delta. So those are the subjects today. I just will be talking about, but it is. So you got your stimulus package. Is it going to stimulate the economy to some degree? To some degree, it will. You'll see a little bit of a spike in spending because, again, velocity of money will increase. When you give poor people money, they spend their money. $1,200 isn't a lot of money, but if you give it to millions and millions of people, that money immediately hits the economy because people need to spend it. They don't have money. Well, when you give $1 trillion to the billionaire class, they sit on it. They hoard the money. They don't have to spend it because they don't have to spend it. They have enough money to live a life that far exceeds your life tenfold. Totally blows out any lifestyle you can imagine tenfold. Literally, they're sitting out on yachts and private beaches, sipping mimosas and having slaves bring them hors d'oeuvres and shit. You have no idea how these people live. If people knew how they lived, it would be a fucking war. It would be a real civil war. But anyway, so you will see a slight spike in the economy because, hey, listen, you hand me $1,200, a poor person, and I'm sitting here thinking, well, I can do this, I can do that, I could, oh man, what all the shit I can do. Excuse me, with $1,200. So you'll see a little bit of a punch. Look, first of all, just on the stimulus check headline, Trump's name shouldn't be on it. It should be Steve Mnuchin. He's the Treasury Secretary. Worst recession ever. These are just skimming the headlines right now. That one has nothing to do with us. Bitcoin, who cares? U.S. industrial production crashes by most since World War II. But you got your stimulus check, right? That's going to solve everything. The big ba is coming. Here's Elizabeth Warren endorsing Joe Biden as if it even fucking matters. Joe Biden's not going to win. Joe Biden is an old senile man. Bernie Sanders' crowd is walking the other way. It's confirmed. They're not going to. Joe Biden's got no shot at all. Has nothing to offer the American people. Is a liar. Is probably a rapist. Definitely involved in shenanigans in the Ukraine with his son, giving him preferential treatment and quid pro quo. That'll all come out in the election. Trump wins. Retail icon J.C. Penney prepares to file for bankruptcy. You'll see a lot more of that. That's not that they're broke. They're just escaping. The retail apocalypse. Well, yeah, there is a retail apocalypse because what we're learning in this pandemic, when everyone's isolated in their houses, people that never ordered online are going to start ordering like crazy, and they're going to get pretty comfortable with it. They're going to be like, I like this shit. I like it. I like going on the computer, and then 2-3 days later, it's there's a box in front of my door. I like that. It works. It works for me. You're going to see more of that, and it works into the hands of the oligarchs. People like Amazon. They're loving this shit, man. They're loving this. They're reprogramming people. People that never had computers. I bet you got people ordering shit in nursing homes now, and old people finally saying, man, I think I'm going to get one of them computers. I never wanted a computer, but I think I'm going to get a computer. And they have their grandson show them how to work the thing and how to order their stuff, right? They could order fucking old people stuff. U.S. answers China provocative. Doesn't matter. I'm just looking for the financial headlines. Here comes the depression. Empire State Manufacturing crashes most ever. Lowest in history. Minus 78 on the manufacturing numbers. Wall Street looks at this stuff, right? It matters, right? U.S. retail sales crash by most ever. It's all going to come back. It's all going to bounce back. B of A, Bank of America profits plunge 45%. But they got trillions of dollars and they're going to fucking steal. They're going to steal from the small businesses. That's the play. That's clearly the play with the banks. They're going to strap the banks with debt and default and ultimately co-ownership in small business because of the debts that they're going to incur. So Bank of America, in my view, if you assume that the rigged economy is going to continue for at least 3-4 years, buy all the banks. Buy B of A, buy JP Morgan, buy a little Goldman Sachs. If you wanted to play that hand, buy fucking Wells Fargo. By city. Just buy the banks. Buy the banks because the banks are not going to fail. They're not allowed to fail until the global economy says fuck you and throws the dollar in the garbage. When that happens, well then it's a different story. But for now, they'll squeeze another 4 or 5 years out of this. At least until Trump's halfway through. J.P. Morgan sees global profits cratering 70%. 70%. Oh my God. But you got your stimulus. Your check is going to solve all the problems. Right? That's the point. It's a Band-Aid is what I'm telling you. Why is Joe Biden? Who cares about Joe Biden? Global markets tumble amid dismal earnings. White House leaks draft plan to reopen American economy. Oh, that's nice. Who cares? I'll see it when I believe it. Seeing is believing. So there's all these devastatingly horrible financial headlines. That's all I want to talk about there. Let's see how the market's doing. Oh, damn, it's 6 down. Fucking Dow is down 609 as of 10:50 a.m. time, a.m. New York time. So the economy. Why? But everybody's getting stimulated, and why is the market going down? Right? So you look at the chart. This is my executive chart, and I've been charting it. I've drawn the trend lines all the way from 2008 when Obama crashed the market. Him and Geithner, whatever his name was, Geithner. You remember Geithner, the Secretary of the Treasury from Goldman Sachs, and they kept bashing the market. Him and Obama kept bashing the market, and they told him to shut the fuck up, and then the market started to go up again, and it creeped all the way up. Trump takes over. There's a little into the election. Who's going to win? Hillary Clinton. Who's going to win? Hillary Clinton or Trump? Trump wins. The market goes roaring up. And it's been going flat ever since 2017. It hit its high. It did a crazy run 2 months ago, and bang, fucking crashed below the trend line, right back to where Trump started. And now we've got the dead cat bounce. A dead cat will bounce if you throw it out a high enough window. Even a dead cat will bounce if you throw it out a high enough window. The dead cat bounce, right? But with all these horrific numbers, why is the market going up? Because it's a short squeeze, and it's too long and too involved to explain what the fuck a short squeeze is. Look it up, and you'll find out what it is. Because then it goes up, the squeeze is over, and boom, there's nothing to hold it up. Nobody's buying stock in this kind of a market. So let's go into a little bit of Corona terror. All right, the whole thing is our whole world view has been redefined. Everything follows coronavirus. COVID-19, T-shirts, maybe, hats. Everything is COVID-19. Half the world is locked down. I'm not locked down in New York. As you can see, I'm out and about. I'm out every day. I walk, police. There's no law in New York that says you can't be walking around. I think there's a stay-at-home requirement or a recommendation that you stay at home, but I've never been approached by police to say, where are you going? I've never seen anybody approach to say, where are you going? I don't know of anybody who authorities have said, what are you doing? Where are you going, right? I have credentials, right? Because, A, I'm a reporter, right? If I'm a reporter and I could prove it on the spot, then that is considered in New York a essential worker. But also city credentials and such, right? Going about your business. Or if you have a bag in your pocket, you're going shopping, right? But you're taking care of business, right? So New York City doesn't really have a lockdown, but people are scared shit. They're sitting home using up the toilet paper they bought. They're scared, right? Fucking terrified, right? Or they're terrified they're going to come out and infect somebody. But look at this. Look at this ad. Look at this story. Most New York City kids probably already have coronavirus, docs say. A couple of kids walking in Central Park. I know that flight of steps. That's the steps that lead down into what's called it's the tiles underneath the Bethesda fountain. Underneath the crossover at 72nd Street, there's There's this flight of stairs. There's a set of bathrooms right there. I know this. I know this spot. I don't know why. I thought I'd share that with you. That I know where the spot is. Most New York children probably already have coronavirus and are serving as vectors to spread the disease. You believe that? They're telling you that 8 out of 10 kids now be fearful of the children. Be fearful of the children because they don't show symptoms and they're going to give it to you. Stay away from those kids. It's crazy. Dr. Dylan He's at New York City Gramercy Pediatric, advised parents to assume their children have virus. If they contract even mild symptoms consistent with the disease, I think that probably 80% of children have coronavirus. We are not testing children. I'm in New York City. I can't get my patients tested. I can't get my patients tested. That's a hell of a thing to say, that 80% of kids are infected without knowing a damn thing. It's like the guy yesterday, the funeral director that I called on the phone. Watch my yesterday's video, the early one, Marcus in the Morning. And you'll see I talked to a funeral director who said that he said they're all coronavirus. Everybody that they run and get and eventually stick in the ground or cremate has coronavirus. Every one of them, he said. That's his assessment. Is it correct? No. It's just talking points. It's just, that's what they're telling us. Everybody's got coronavirus because they're dead. Probably 80 to 90% of them are asymptomatic. Asymptomatic means no symptoms, right? Let me just check, make sure. I know what it means. Come on, man. I fucking know what it means. Showing no symptoms. Okay, so showing no symptoms, asymptomatic. So he's saying that 80 to 90% of kids walking around. I don't believe it. I think it's total horseshit, right? Which leads me to believe that still there's got to be an alternative to the handshake. I'm gonna continue with that because I'm trying to do. I think if you eliminate the handshake, you'll do a lot more than having people walk around with masks that have no effect, right? And then just by not communicating, by not allowing the virus to go from one casual acquaintance to the other through a handshake, I think you can greatly reduce the germation. That's a word. Germation, germ spreading across populations. So just a horseshit of a story about kids. They're blaming the kids now. I thought they were blaming the old people. So yesterday I made an interesting discovery. Right, I was walking. I walked 2 hospitals yesterday. I walked in Harlem because that morning I saw an article that said blacks are more affected, are more impacted by coronavirus. Now, is it financially impacted? There, I would agree. I think that you are right, that people receiving social services are not going to get a stimulus package. I'm pretty sure that that's how that works. Their food stamps were not increased. So there is an impact there. There is no unemployment because most very low income welfare people that live in the projects don't have income and not going to get it. They're not going to get a stimulus. They're not going to get unemployment. They're not going to get a loan, a business loan. So I would agree that low income minority, if we still call blacks minority, they've actually in my city they're a minority. There's more blacks and Hispanics in New York City than there are white people. So is coronavirus impacting the black community health-wise? That's what I saw, and that's why I decided to go up to Harlem and do a walk around that hospital. And what happened? It's the same as usual. It's actually, that was one of the most calm hospitals I've ever seen. That was the most, in the pit of Harlem, in the dead center, 135th Street in Lenox. Right in the middle of Harlem, surrounded by low-income projects, and there's no buzz in the hospital. There's nothing. Yeah, you can say everything, all the action is on the inside of the hospital. Conte, you gotta go inside. You can't see it from the fucking street. No, but you can, because in a pandemic, in a hospital under stress, you would see buzz on the street. You would see lines. You would see pissed off people. You'd see, motherfucker, I can't get in there. I'm dying out here. They're gonna let me die on the street. You would see that. Right? Look at the third world countries that people barge in to try to get help, and they can. They're fucking crawling into the hospital. You don't see it here because it's not happening. That's the point. They got it under control. They got that shit under control. So again, there was no evidence, what I'm trying to say. But we did learn something interesting. I walked Mount Sinai Hospital, and this was fascinating, right? Check this shit out, right? Check this out.
Yeah. Where are the war zones, someone asks? I don't know. That's a good question. And I've been looking for it for about a week now.
So walking around.
Shit, right? And there it is, Mount Sinai Hospital. That's allegedly the emergency room, the urgent care. You see the front of the building. Oh, you know what I was told? You see these, and now I can't confirm this, but somebody did tell me. You see the windows with the hole, right?
COVID-19 holes. Wow, who would have known? You see those windows? Those are all windows that have been replaced. Replaced or covered, maybe they're coverings, but the windows are open and those holes are sucking air out into the atmosphere. So that there's a vacuum pulling the germinated air towards, I guess, a filter or just straight out onto the street, as opposed to sucking it into the center of the building where all the medical staff is, instead of infecting the whole area. So if you're standing in the nurses' station in the hospital, you're in the hospital and there's the rooms all around, and in the middle sections are generally the nursing stations. So the object is, if you open a COVID-19 patient's door, the air will get sucked out, and they're venting it out into the street. So I never knew that, and it was just by chance that.
See the hole?
Because you get off your ass and you walk around. There's also a pop in my mic in this video. I didn't hear it while I was doing it, but I hear it now. I got to fix that. There's like a crackly, poppity pop sound.
I'm going to put my mask on. Because those are rooms with COVID-19. Those are COVID-19 rooms, and when you open the door, instead of air flowing out to the hallway, it flows out onto the street or out into the atmosphere, which is rather crazy when you think about it, if you're trying to contain something. Now, a photographer told me that. A guy was photographing stuff, and he said that's what that is. Those are all COVID.
You know what's fascinating too? Look at the low ones right there. You see how low? See how low that was to the street? Look at this. It's literally right over the door. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 holes right over the entrance where people are walking in. 6, 7. 7 corona holes right over Mount Sinai's street level. What is that? Maybe 2 stories up. A person is maybe 10, 20, maybe 30 feet over your head. 30 feet over your head are 7 corona holes spewing out potential coronavirus into the atmosphere. I think it's fascinating.
He said that's what that is. Those are all COVID patients right there. Air coming out, and
yeah, they could. Someone comments, Colossal Big Shot says, are they sent through filters? One would assume that the air is filtered, right? You would assume that, right? Just like a mask. But with what I'm trying to say is, with all the imperfections that we've seen so far, all of the mishaps, sticking people on intubating people on ventilators, you would think that there's error being made, right? Because they're intubating people and that's making them worse. So how the fuck do we know that the medical profession has an actual filter that filters it out? Is what I'm trying to say. There is a possibility, right? There is some possibility there, anyway, it's just quite frankly scary to walk under a waterfall of coronavirus, literally.
Pulling air in from the hallways.
So that's all I wanted to say about that. It is. I think that's breaking. I've never seen anybody talk about that, and we learned that maybe it's just incident. It's a non-issue, but it sure was for me walking under it. I felt creeped out when I realized that I was underneath it. So let's talk about this handshake stuff, right? So different ways. When we shake hands, we germinate the person across from us. Inescapable, indisputable, right? That's how germs are traveling. They're traveling through kiss on the cheek, sexual contact, handshakes, sweat. Right? Somebody sneezes in your face, and that's how germs transmit. So let's get rid of this handshake, right? Different ways to get rid of the handshake, right? So, things that have already been suggested. I suggested a bow, a little bow. You could do the Viking chest pump, my brother. You do a peace sign. People have said salute. The military salute is already in effect, but in sign language, the hello is out a little bit. I like that. I like that one the best. You're like, or even in the 1800s, there used to be a hat tip. But not everybody's wearing a hat, so you need something without a hat. Or it's just some kind of signaling that people need to come about and agree that the Japanese don't even put their hands up. They just it's like a 15 degree bend. If it's more respectful, it's a 45-degree bend, or a full on bend, right? Different ways to greet one another is what I'm trying to say here, right? So let's look at the history of the handshake, and we'll talk about it. So the handshake has existed, and then I'm going to get into this event 201, right? It's long. I got a lot of videos. I guess this is going to be another long video. So we're going to be here for a while. So the handshake has existed in some form or another for thousands of years, but its origins are somewhat murky. One popular theory is that the gesture began as a way of conveying peaceful intentions. That's fair enough. That's what we want to do. Peaceful intention. Hey, how you doing? Shake hands. But extending their empty right hand, strangers could show that they were not holding weapons or bore no ill will towards one another. Some even suggest that the up and down motion of the handshake was supposed to dislodge a knife or dagger that might have been hidden up a sleeve. Yet another explanation is that the handshake was a symbol of good faith when making an oath or promise. When they clasped hands, people showed that their word was a sacred bond. Well, it is today, a handshake agreement. Let's shake on that. Hey, you want to shake? Let's shake. I agree with you. Let's shake. Let's shake on that agreement. A handshake agreement, right? So it's pretty powerful, right? I think that might even stand up in court, a handshake agreement with a lot of witnesses. You never know. Is it a contract? I don't know. An agreement can be expressed quickly and clearly in words. The historian Walter Burke once explained, but it is only made effective by a ritual gesture. Open, weaponless hands stretched out towards one another, grasping each other in a mutual handshake. So there's a lot of symbolism. My point is, there's a lot of symbolism involved in handshaking that we'd have to replace it with another, rather than just a greeting, maybe a different form of, not even the fist pump, because that's touching, right? But some sort of mutual, let's bow on that, something like that. I don't know. I'm just, just a suggestion. One of the earliest depictions of a handshake is found in the 9th century BC relief. 9th century? That's 3,000 years ago they were shaking hands. Homer said it in the Iliad and the Odyssey, so that's 400 BC, right around the time of Socrates. All right, the ancient Romans had a handshake. Well, a handshake had several meanings in the ancient world. It's used as an everyday greeting is a more recent phenomenon. Oh, so it had more value then. Now it's just a basic greeting. It's moved to, more everyday greeting. Some historians believe it was popularized in the 17th century Quakers. So here's an interesting line. A gentleman who rudely presses the hand offered in a salutation or too violently shakes it ought never to have an opportunity to repeat his offense. Who does that remind you of? Who does that remind you of? Trump. Trump, the aggressive handshake. So let's look at some worldly handshakes.
Since this hot mess of a three-way has a handshake gotten so much attention, clocked at almost 19 seconds, this became the handshake that left the Japanese Prime Minister shaken.
Start the car! But just watch his expression at the end. I feel you.
For a guy who once called the handshake barbaric,
I'm also very much of a germaphobe.
Donald Trump has been risking germs galore with his over-the-top handshakes, many of which include a yank, be it his supreme...
I think that was the most despicable one right there. This is Gorsuch, right? The Supreme Court pick. He's yanking his fucking hand.
Be it his Supreme Court nominee or his VP...
literally pulling people off their feet.
The pull in, the tug, the yank and pull, the grab and jerk. When he did it to a winner of The Apprentice, it seemed like a tug of war.
Donald Trump can't shake hands right.
The more he likes you, the more he tugs and shakes. Body language expert Chris Ulrich says President Trump starts with a submissive gesture.
His hand is open, almost putting his own hand in like a beggar's pose, giving the other person the upper hand.
But then he reasserts his dominance.
He literally pulls people off their feet, off their balance for a moment.
And he often seals his alpha handshake with a pat, a hand hug. But when SNL's Trump shook with Vladimir Putin, it was Putin who tugged and patted Trump. At least a long handshake gives photographers time to get their shots. When the president asked about the Japanese photogs,
what are they? Please, look at me.
Instead of turning to the photogs as requested, the president gazed at the prime minister.
Thank you, everybody.
On Monday, Canada's leader shook President Trump's hand, but he held his own, resisting any tugging, and inspiring headlines like Trudeau one-ups Trump at the handshake game. With Trump yanking at a rate of 2 or 3 times in 10 seconds, you almost need a hand to hold you up. Ginny Mo, CNN, New York.
Strange, right? That's strange. What's Trump going to do without the handshake, man? He's got to get rid of that shit. Here's a couple more. This is just still talk more about the handshake, and then we'll jump into plan event 201.
In business, you shake a lot of hands. So what does your handshake say about you and the people you're doing business with? Find out.
We know most of these.
We count down the top 10 bad business handshakes. Here we go with number 10. The sweaty palmer. A potential deal breaker. You can't escape this nervous, sweaty grip fast enough. Yes, wipe that off. Number 9. The lobster claw. When this person shakes your hand, they pinch your hand between their thumb and fingers. It's as if they're picking up a canapé. Definitely no good if you're allergic to shellfish. At number 8, we've got the fist bump. Nothing says I'm business savvy like a fist bump. And exploding it? Well, that's just not suitable at all, ever. Number 7, the wrestler. He flips his hand on top of yours to assert his dominance. Rumor has it, this is the guy who put the I in team. At number 6, it's the phantom. Wow, that was quick. Let's slow it down to see what happened there. Aha. Clearly, she's got more important places to be and more important people to see. The lingerer drops in at number 5. There's shaking hands and then there's holding hands. Obviously, the lingerer has no idea which is which. Awkward. Number 4, the decliner. Decliners are fastidious folk. They won't touch a doorknob without sanitizing it, let alone shake hands.
That's called leaving someone hanging. That gets you a punch in the face.
3. The tickler. Everything appears normal enough, and then something feels a bit odd. It's their middle finger stroking the
homo
palm
grab.
of your hand.
That's the reach
In
around.
second place, it's the vice. Once you escape the crushing grip of the vice, you can't help but feel sorry for him. He must feel terribly inadequate to shake hands like that. And here it is, the worst of the worst. The bottom of the barrel, the handshake only a mother could love. The dead fish. If handshakes say something about you, this one has to say you're a limp-wristed pushover who's easily battered into submission. Business.gov.au.
Interesting, right? Interesting stuff, man. Right? Fucking crazy, right? So the handshake's a dead fish, right? It's just what I'm trying to say is a lot of in the height of a germ. You just watch people walking around. They're wearing their masks. They're afraid to touch anybody. They're afraid to get close to anybody. And so what are we going to do? Spring right back to business as usual? They're saying 80% of kids are walking around with coronavirus. We're going to go right back to where we were, shaking hands, everything's common? No, you got to educate people and move away from it. And some of the things that I talked about, that we should probably redefine our view of the handshake. So, Event 21. What is it? It's a global pandemic exercise. Now, again, I've seen videos, I've seen clips of this over the years. I'm no expert on it. It never really occurred to me that there was already a plan in place for a pandemic if and when it should hit. I didn't know that. So, let's watch some of this. I don't know how much of it. Again, this is education for me too, because it's not something that I followed in the past. It's not something that I've been, completely aware of. I have now since come to really, really distrust Bill Gates and the wife. But let's listen.
It began in healthy-looking pigs, months, perhaps years ago. A new coronavirus spread silently within herds. Gradually,
Event 201. I'm sorry, what am I saying? Event 21? Event 201, excuse me.
Farmers started getting sick. Infected people got a respiratory illness with symptoms ranging from mild flu-like signs.
Now look at the date on this video. 2.5 million people have watched this, and it was published in November 4th, 2019. 2019. This was published a year ago, 9 months ago, and all this stuff started to evolve in October, November. Wow, the timing is striking, right? Striking timing, right?
To severe pneumonia. The sickest required intensive care. Many died. Experts agree, unless it is quickly controlled, it could lead to a severe pandemic, an outbreak that circles the globe and affects people everywhere.
The mission. It does seem like they were. It was not planned, but they were predicting it. I think it's safe to say it already.
The Pandemic Emergency Board is to provide recommendations to deal with the major global challenges arising in response to an unfolding pandemic. The board is comprised of highly experienced leaders from business, public health, and civil society.
We could be looking at double the number of cases in 1 week and 16 times as many in a month if we are not able to stop the spread. That would be on the order of 500,000 cases, and it would continue to rise exponentially. In 3 months, we could be approaching 10 million cases.
We're at the start of what's looking like it will be a severe pandemic. And there are problems emerging that can only be solved by global business and governments working together.
We have known about CAPS-like viruses in animals and people for decades, but have not been successful at developing a licensed vaccine. And sure, there are new technologies that may help, but it's going to be difficult. I am not optimistic about having a vaccine in time to be relevant during this pandemic.
So the policy crisis in question for this board in this meeting is this: how should governments, business, and international organizations allocate and distribute pandemic antivirals and medical supplies to the people who need them most?
What we've seen work very well in the HIV field is, in fact, procurement through the Global Fund. So having a centralized mechanism, so financially able to procure on behalf of affected countries.
I just want to stop for 1 second. So this was in New York City, October 18, 2019. The Bill Gates and Melinda Gates Foundation met in New York City, October 18, 2019. The exercise illustrates the pandemic preparedness. So you could see health benefits. That's what I'm saying about health and research people. They're for sale just like politicians are. They're like, oh, you want us to research this stuff? I don't know if it's really relevant. Well, we'll give you $2 billion to do it. It's like, you know what? I think it's a good idea. Yeah, we should definitely look into this stuff. What do you think? Yeah, I think we should. All right, we agree. Let's shake hands on it. That's what happens, right? That's what's going on, right? So you have the two slimy billionaires, Bill Gates and his wife and others, financially positioning themselves to profit from a pandemic of some sort, and then they assemble the slaves, because to them everybody's a slave. Everybody can be bought. The whole thing, none of this meeting would have happened without the money of Bill Gates. And billionaires don't just give away their money. That's bullshit. Philanthropy, my ass. They give away money so that they can make more money. And that's just a simple fact. That's why they have billions of dollars.
Critical. I think the second thing is it's going to be very important that for the business sector, for manufacturers of antivirals, that we have clarity around what the need is and where the need is and who are making the decisions.
I think that given that the countries most affected are those that are low and middle income countries with unequal access to technology, to finances, the UN has a worldwide footprint, universally recognized, and universal membership.
She was wrong because she said low. I thought we're the superpower. We're the first world country, America, Europe. And Europe got hit just as hard as, if not harder, than anywhere else. So she was wrong.
A global stockpile would certainly help ensure more rational and strategic allocation, but the reality is that we don't have the logistics capability, even within the UN, to bring that together in one place and run it. So this is where I think a collaboration between the international organizations like the World Health Organization and the private sector, which runs these supply chains for many purposes every day, understand where the supplies are, make smart decisions about how to allocate them to the people who need them in the places that need them the most, and then work with the industry to move those supplies from where they are today to where they need to be.
Just to underscore the point that cooperation...
Just play a little more of this, and then we'll move on to something. I want to see the Bill Gates say it in his own words. That's the most fascinating, because all of these people, in my short review of what's going on here in this event, it's sponsored by Bill Gates. It's Microsoft money making this shit happen, right? None of this event, none of this, people are calling it agenda, would have happened without Bill Gates, right? That's fair enough to say. So,
among supply chain providers or businesses that have huge supply chains can add a lot of efficiency to the whole process.
The question is, can you, through this international mechanism, really promote commitments to doing this as quickly as possible and give people a sense that actually if they contribute more, that they will have a better chance of protecting their own populations and their country's security and health.
So to be completely clear, most of this production would already be committed in contracts.
Yes.
It is almost unheard of that people are producing product without having a forward commitment for the consumption of that product. So the first thing needs to...
So there's a very eerie sense that this meeting was happening a year before, 9 full months before the epidemic hit. So listen to Bill Gates. Bill Gates has a warning about deadly epidemics. This is January 22nd, 2017. 2017, January 2017, 18, 19, 20. So three years ago, Bill Gates is on some show talking about this. Watch his body language. Watch his face. Watch the face of a liar, the face of someone plotting to do something fucked up. You know that face when you know someone's not sincere? They're just talking because they have to talk. You know, they're almost slightly embarrassed about what they're saying because they know it's bullshit. That's what I got the sense of when I watched this the first time. Check it out.
An epidemic, either naturally caused or intentionally caused, is the most likely thing to cause, say, 10 million excess deaths. And that it's pretty surprising how little preparedness there is for it. Now, it's tricky because this is a global problem, so how do countries work together? Which countries should put up what resources?
Hold on one second. Did you just say...
an epidemic, either naturally caused or intentionally caused.
Right there. That's what I wanted to catch, right? He said, in an epidemic, whether naturally caused or planned. Listen again.
An epidemic, either naturally caused or intentionally caused.
Or intentionally caused. Either naturally caused or intentionally caused. And he said that without blinking. Intentionally caused, that's an act of war. Right? That's an act of that's terrorism, right? Killing off millions of people intentionally. He said it. I didn't say it. I just caught it.
It's the most likely thing to cause, say, 10 million excess deaths, and that it's pretty surprising how little preparedness there is for it. Now, it's tricky because this is a global problem, so how do countries work together? Which countries should put up what resources?
That's really what he's excited about. Who's going to put up the money, and how am I going to make more money? That's really what he's talking about.
Aspect of it, the resources to go engage in the affected countries, the allocation decisions. As we've seen various flu scares come along, we haven't had a super good response. So the paradigmatic examples are smallpox for an intentionally caused thing, that there was a simulation called Dark Winter that didn't come out very well.
He knows all about it.
Smallpox scored 1 and humanity scored 0. Flu epidemics, where we always talk about the potential recurrence of a 1917 like Spanish flu problem, and then Ebola, which although it was much smaller, there was some luck involved in that because it wasn't spread through respiratory contact. The reproductive rate was a lot lower, and it was basically people who were sick or dead who were doing most of the transmission. And so through a lot of heroic effort and a little bit of luck, it stayed under control and was largely contained to the 3 countries. Zika is still recent enough that the understanding of, okay, should we have seen it sooner? Even understanding what the steady state case looks like in terms of immunogenicity, why it showed up in South America.
Isn't he knowledgeable about this whole thing 3.5 years ago? There's also a lot of evidence that, and I haven't dove into it yet, but he's looking for a global ID, a way of globally identifying all people through a vaccination, right? Some sort of chemical injection. But it is astonishing that 3+ years ago, he was talking about this with remarkable clarity. This guy should be put up against the wall and interrogated. What the hell do you know? What else do you know about this stuff?
Up in Africa, I know people are hard at work trying to answer these questions. So the lessons from that one, I'm not trying to minimize that one at all, but I think they're less clear than from Ebola. You know, I think it's too bad in a way that we had to have these epidemics to get us to move, but the timing in terms of the science, the recognition that epidemics don't respect borders, and so...
Touch your face when you're lying. Watch him touch his face. Watch. It's like, watch this.
To move, but the timing in terms of the science, the recognition that epidemics don't respect borders, and so...
Body language.
Whether you're looking at this through a humanitarian lens or a purely domestic lens, these are investments that should be made. I think this is a very...
These are investments that should be made. Ooh. And you make the investments, and then, pow, you get your epidemic, right? And even if you don't get your epidemic, you get a half-baked epidemic, like COVID-19. Half-baked, meaning that we'll shut down the whole economy and pull resources from every corner of the globe to solve something that is, is minimal at this point. Minimal. Right up there with the flu. Yeah, okay, great. Hospitals had to convert, they had to convert their resources to infectious disease wards. Okay, sorry. Listen, man, you become a doctor. You rise to the occasion. That's what you... Did you become a doctor to make a lot of money, or did you become a doctor to help people? Which is it, bud? So if hospitals are under stress, I kind of feel sorry for them. It's sure they're working hard, they're being paid, they're under stress. Yeah, but that's what you signed up for. You didn't sign up for to be a florist or a fucking street sweeper or something else. A rock star. You signed up to be a doctor to help people. So stop complaining already. That's how I see it.
Very positive stuff.
What if your email magically CC'd all the right people?
There's an ad. Hold on a second. I don't know if there's more to it. I don't know if there's more to this. Let's just see if I think we got to the end of it. But anyway, scary, right? Scary stuff with Bill Gates, man. Bill Gates is the psychic Bill Gates. No, that's the end of it. Here's another one, right? I'm not going to go all the way through this, but this is again. Well, look at the dates. Look at the dates. 25 million people saw this. Now, so far we've saw that last talk was in 2017. The event 201, excuse me, event 201 was 9 months ago. All right, so event 201 9 months ago. Bill Gates is 3 years ago talking in front of the cameras about it. And now this goes even further back. This is all the way back to April 2015 on TEDS. 25 million people viewed this. Check this shit out. See, at this point, I'm willing to talk about a pandemic, because in the beginning, people were arguing, is it real? Is it a real virus? Is it actually hurting anybody? And the evidence now on the table is, yes, it is a real... The idea that it's fake, that the hospitals are empty and everything is empty is incorrect. A lot of things are empty because they overcompensated for the amount of damage it was going to do. Example, in New York City, they expected 130,000 beds to be filled, and they only filled 18,000. So it's an overcompensation, right? But is it a real virus? Yes. People are getting sick. Yes. People are dying. Yes. Is it a newfangled disease? Yes. They don't know what it is. They think it's ARDS, respiratory failure, but it's not. It turns out to be oxygen deprivation. Yes. All those things are true. All right. Are the hospitals being hit hard? Yeah, a little bit. Not. Is it worthy of shutting down an economy? Yeah. No. No, it's not. But now we go to say, now you could start looking and say, well, was it planned, or is there financial interest in making it happen? Those sorts of things. Now I'm starting to be open to that possibility. But to actually see Bill Gates be prosecuted or even questioned about some sort of leak in a lab in Wuhan, China, or in some military base in the center of the U.S. who created this virus and deliberately planted it into the mind stream, into the bloodstream of people. Now, that's another whole fucking bowl of wax. But here's Bill Gates talking about this 5 years ago. 5 years ago.
When I was a kid, the disaster we worried about most was a nuclear war. That's why we had a barrel like this down in our basement, filled with cans of food and water. When the nuclear attack came, we were supposed to go downstairs, hunker down, and eat out of that barrel. Today, the greatest risk of global catastrophe doesn't look like this. Instead, it looks like this. If any,
right there, influenza virus.
Looks like this.
Influenza virus. It looks like this. The great threat to humanity. Bill Gates, the great psychic, predicting it 5 years ago, and now he's so well positioned to profit from it, it makes you sick.
If anything kills over 10 million people in the next few decades, it's most likely to be a highly infectious virus rather than a war. Not missiles, but microbes. Now, part of the reason for this is that we have invested a huge amount in nuclear deterrence, but we've actually invested very little in a system to stop an epidemic. We're not ready for the next epidemic. Let's look at Ebola. I'm sure all of you read about it in the newspaper. Lots of tough challenges. I followed it carefully through the case analysis tools we use to track polio eradication. And as you look at what went on, the problem wasn't that there was a system that didn't work well enough. The problem was that we didn't have a system at all. In fact, there are some pretty obvious key missing pieces. We didn't have a group of epidemiologists ready to go who would have gone, seen what the disease was, see how far it had spread. The case reports came in on paper. It was very delayed before they were put online.
This is kind of dry, but let's jump
so
ahead a
there was
little
a
bit.
lot that was missing, and these things are really a global failure. The WHO is funded to monitor epidemics, but not to do these things I talked about. Now in the movies, it's quite different. There's a group of handsome epidemiologists ready to go. They move in, they save the day, but that's just pure Hollywood. The failure to prepare could allow the next epidemic to be dramatically more devastating than Ebola. Let's look at the progression of Ebola over this year. About 10,000 people died, and nearly all were in the 3 West African countries. There's 3 reasons why it didn't spread.
Sterling Price, thank you very much. This is, right, I did talk about this a long time ago. I forgot about it, right? So I do know about it. I remember talking about this particular video. Thank you very much for reminding me. I know I've seen it before. I didn't know that I actually did a video about it. But here, it's crazy, right?
Spread more. The first is there was a lot of heroic work by the health workers. They found the people and they prevented more infections. The second is the nature of the virus. Ebola does not spread through the air. And by the time you're contagious, most people are so sick that they're bedridden. Third, it didn't get into many urban areas.
Let's see what else
Look
he's
at a
talking about.
pathogen and be able to make drugs and vaccines that fit for that pathogen. So we can have tools, but those tools need to be put into an overall global health system, and we need preparedness. The best lessons, I think, on how to get prepared are, again, what we do for war. For soldiers, we have full-time waiting to go.
And then at some point, I think he gets into the whole vaccination talk. So So again, you can watch this on your own if you want to watch all 8 minutes of it. It makes me a little ill, but it is interesting to know that Bill Gates was so far ahead on his predictions. You can watch it. The next outbreak, always people ask me what's the name of that video. Just just pause and look. I put it up there for you. I tell you exactly where it is. So the next outbreak, we're not ready. Bill Gates, it's a TED presentation, 16 million subscribers. 16 million subscribers. So Marcus Conte reporting. Good morning, everybody. Thank you guys for joining me. John Perry in the house. Good morning, John. Good morning, Jerry Fleming, Sterling Price. I need to go take a nap again. 2 days take. It's going to be nice out today, actually. It's going to be a beautiful day. Maybe I'll go out and ride. I'll go out and do some street performance. Jason Walsh, No Censorship, Miss Chicago in the house. Thank you guys very much, man. Thanks, everybody. Listen to some Pink Floyd, man. Fuck this shit. It's pretty cool, right? I could dig it. Thanks, everybody, for joining me, man. Now that everybody's starting to get their stimulus checks, become a Patreon of this channel. Marcus Conte, this effort right here so we can continue to do it. Let's take it a little more. There was a little more up here. Watch a little more of this. Become a Patreon of the channel. I greatly appreciate that. And make a one-time contribution through PayPal if you can. It keeps the whole thing going. The more you give, the more I get to do. In terms of reporting, I could get off my ass. Right now, flights are cheap, right? You want me to go somewhere? Make a donation. I'm open to the idea. Can move around the country pretty easily right now as a reporter. Nobody's planes are empty, right? But become a Patreon, right? I'm also going to make an effort. The next effort will be into website. I'm going to start to put together a comprehensive website to take control of the search engines, right, so that people can find this information, because relying on YouTube seems a lot gets lost in the mix. So kindly become a Patreon, become a make a one-time contribution through PayPal, buy stickers on eBay. So have a good day, everybody. Marcus Conte reporting. Peace out.
Remember when you were young,